Well, beloved, this time around, we want to share something interesting with you. And this thing is about the creation of Adam as God did. You see, when you read the creation account from Genesis chapter 1 up to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, you see, it is very interesting. Very interesting what we are going to learn. It is very interesting. God created the heavens and the earth, the seas and the springs of water from Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 to Genesis chapter 1 verse 25. And then God in chapter 26, God says, let us create man in our image, in our likeness. And indeed, chapter 27 confirms that God created man in his image, in his likeness. Man and woman did God create. Very interesting. And then chapter 28 follows that after God has created man and woman in his image, then God gave part of his creation to be managed by human beings, the seas and the earth and all that in them. And then verse 29, God then gave the menu, the food that man should eat. That is, the trees on earth and the fruits that they bear should be the food that man should eat. And then verse 30, interestingly, God also gave the green herbs to animals. So when you see a goat or a sheep chewing green herb, it is not just that the goat likes that too, but it is God sanctioned food for them. It is God that has already prescribed that menu for animals that they should chew green herbs. Then verse 31, God looked at all that he has made and he said, it is very, very good. And you see the expression, the phrase very good, God had already mentioned the word good 6 times throughout the Genesis chapter 1 account from verse 1 to verse 30. God had already mentioned it is good 6 times. The 7th one, God said it is very good, meaning God has seen all that he has said, and indeed it was very good. It was perfect. Then we ask ourselves, so God just created human being, because when you look at the sky, the firmament, the heavens, the earth, the moons, the sun, the stars, the animals, the mountains, the waters, just God commanded and they came. God commanded and they came. God commanded and they came. So we are in a dilemma. So that the creation of man also follow the same pattern, that just God created man, just called man and man came. No. The creation of man was very special. When you go to Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, it says, God just picked the ground, the earth, the dust of the earth. God just gathered them. And then God molded it. And then he created human beings. So human beings was created from clay of the earth. God molded human beings from the clay of the earth. What it is that after God had created human beings and if nothing followed at all, man would have been lying there still as clay. The interesting thing that we are learning this morning, this time, evening, afternoon, or whatever, is after God has molded the clay, then God also knelt down and breathed life into the nostrils of the clay. As soon as the God breathed life into the nostrils of the clay, then the clay began shaking, began kicking, began being active. Then the human soul rose up and was walking. Look at the breath of life from God. The miracle is about the breath of life. And that is what we want to emphasize this time, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, this night. That breath of life that God breathed into the nostrils of Adam, every one of us breathes it. There is no human being born of woman who does not breathe that. What they even through the cesarean section. When a woman conceives, everything that goes into that conception, that fetus, that baby in the womb is from the woman. The water the fetus will drink, the food it will eat, the air it will breathe, everything comes from the mother to the child in the womb. But the moment that child is giving birth to, is born into this world, and the umbilical cord, which serves as the contact between the mother and the child, is cut, then the child becomes independent. So the child will have to sigh. Sometimes it is a strong sigh. Sometimes it is mild. Sometimes it is mixed with what? With even cry. That sighing, that act of sighing, is where God is also breathing into the child, so the child can also be a living soul on his own, on her own, to live in this world. So you see that the breathing that God breathed, the breath of life that God breathed into the nostrils of Adam, God still is breathing into the nostrils of every human being who is born of a woman. It's interesting. It's interesting. If that child that is born does not sigh to receive the breath of life from God at the time it is born, that child cannot survive. Sometimes this is a child to our mothers, our grandmothers, and our midwives or maid husbands. If there's any still some maid husbands, midwives, and our mothers and our wives, when they are tending to a woman who is on labor, who is to deliver, please watch this and you see for yourself. As soon as the child is born, you see that the child will just have to, after the umbilical cord is cut, the child will have to what? Breathe or sigh, so that you receive that breath of life from God, and the child becomes a living being. Very good. It's very wonderful from God, and it is insightful. It is something that we need to know, and so that it will help us to at least acknowledge the wonders of God that God has been doing to us. This is just to let you know how God works in miraculous ways concerning our human being, our human engine when we are born. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.